A sure anchor is one which does not drag. Now he's talking about a ship's anchor, but I guess this could apply to mountaineering as well. It is not too light for the ship that rides by it. It has found its firm ground. It does not deceive. The ship's crew, or in our case the climbers, may trust in it. An anchor which is steadfast, or as the original word might be rendered, firm, is one which will not break, but is strong in its own substance, made of a good, tough iron, so that there is no fear of the shank snapping, whatever strain may be put upon it. We may then say generally that this object of the Christian hope is free from all the weaknesses and imperfections which cleave and cling to other objects. And so Andrew McLaren says this: we want to have, and we do have, that sure hope. And he speaks about weaknesses and imperfections. And I want us just to take a minute to look at some of the weaknesses and imperfections that could cling to objects to make them impure and weak and not the strength that we need. You see, life is filled with a lot of false hope and insecurities. And from an early age, we learn, hey, you just got to be physically strong enough, mentally strong enough. You've got to just have enough money in the bank. You've just got to get those degrees and be educated enough, and then life will look after itself. Well, I think we found that's not entirely true. And I'm not saying we shouldn't study, we shouldn't save, and we shouldn't go to gym and work out. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying if that is our true anchor and our only anchor, so many things in life can derail that. If anything, COVID has shown us is that things can change like that. And we need an anchor that is 100% trustworthy and firm and strong, no matter what happens. You know, Jesus gave a parable, and it's found in Luke chapter 15, and it's a parable known as the parable of the prodigal son. And it speaks about these two sons that this father has. And the youngest son in verse 12 says to his father, "Father, give me my share of the estate." And so he divided his property. The dad divides his property among them. Not long after that, the youngest son got together all he had and set off for a distant country. And there he squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. Terrible! I don't know if you've ever been around pigs. They don't smell good. The food that they eat, it's usually decaying food. And it says in verse 16, he longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. Wow, this guy's absolutely desperate. You know, pig food, and I've seen some of it being collected actually in Shanghai. The pig farmers, they go to the restaurants, they collect the food that's left over, and the food's kind of a day or two old. And in summer, if you stuck behind, one of those vehicles that are carting the pig food, going from restaurant to restaurant, if you're on a bicycle, not pleasant. If you're in a car, one up the windows, turn on the aircon, you're okay. But the smell from that is not good. By the time it gets to the pig farm, it's not smelling good at all. And to eat that, to long to fill your stomach with that kind of food, you must be absolutely desperate. And we can see this young man, he just has his hope placed in the fun, the parties, the alcohol, the woman, whatever it is. And that just absolutely lets him down. There are many things that people, including believers, trust in these days. Some of us trust in our finances. We have cryptocurrency. Yeah, no problem. I've got my cryptocurrency. It's never going to fail. It's a sure foundation. Right. I don't know much about cryptocurrency, but I know it has gone up and down. I don't have any myself, simply because I don't know it. So therefore, I don't trust it. But Some people have gold, and hopefully it's South African gold, all right, the good quality South African gold. Other people have oil. Now, I do have oil shares in a South African company that converts charcoal or coal into oil. And before COVID, my shares were sky high. COVID hit, and you can literally see the graph just plummeting like this, just dropping down. And then there's a war in the Ukraine, and suddenly my shares go up to about half of where they were before. They're still lower than where they were, 50%, but they've come up a little bit. Who knows? Those might go up, they might go down. There might suddenly be peace, there might be a new oil reserve discovered, and those shares just plummet. If I'm placing my foundation in those, it's not going to be good. Some of us place our hope in people. Our spouse, we marry this fantastic person, and our whole life is surrounded and supported by them, and we maybe even get our identity from them. And then something happens. Maybe an accident happens, maybe they make a mistake, maybe they change their mind about us, and our world falls apart. Others of us place our hope in maybe a mega church or a celebrity pastor. You know, we follow so-and-so. He's just fantastic. He's just the best. He's on TV all the time. And, you know, nothing wrong supporting and following mega church pastors. They're celebrity because they do things well. But they're human. And we have seen in recent times how many of these celebrity guys, these super famous pastors, have got into trouble. I mean, just recently there's a whole denomination that is going through a severe time of self-analysis. There's been some scandals that have happened. There have been things that haven't been disclosed. They're busy re-examining who they are as an organization. We've seen big ministries, things happen and people come forward. All the time this is happening. And so if we place our faith in a person, it's not a good foundation. It's not going to hold us through what we need to get through. Jesus says in Matthew chapter 6, 19 to 21, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moths and vermin do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Now this scripture is not saying sell all you have, give it to the church and just live on faith. It's not saying that. The key to this scripture is this: where is your heart? Because wherever your heart is, that's where you will place your treasure. And if we put our hearts into the things of this world, possessions or people of this earth or people of this world, we are going to be disappointed. It's not the foundation that is needed to be a sure and steady foundation. You know, I don't know if you've had anything stolen from you, but it's a terrible feeling. I actually went fishing, and some of us know that your pastor enjoys a little bit of fishing in his spare time every now and then. But I went fishing in South Africa, in my home country, and I parked the car close to the fishing spot. It was on the road that went to a golf course. And so I reckon it's pretty safe here because there's people traveling past all the time. You know, there's actually one of the golf holes went right past, very close to where my car was. And so I thought, the worst thing that could happen is it might get hit by a golf ball, but, probably won't get broken into. And so I took my watch off and I put it in the cubby hole and I went off fishing. After a very unsuccessful 2-hour session, I was hot, smelt of sardines because I do sea fishing. I then came back and there was my window looking very similar to the window that you're seeing right now on your PowerPoint. There was just glass all over the grass where I had parked, and it was so frustrating, and I can remember just being so angry. Now the watch wasn't an expensive watch. The biggest hassle was getting the window fixed. I was from a small town. I had to drive into the city, which is about an hour away. I couldn't close the windows. I had the air like pumping in there the whole time. I just hoped it wouldn't rain, because if it rained, I had nothing to keep the rain out, and it was just frustrating. I couldn't actually go to the shops and just park the car because I couldn't close the window. All right, I guess I could have taped it up or something, but that would have looked silly. So I didn't do that. And I was just like so angry because something had been stolen from me. And we don't want to put our treasure in things that can be stolen or depreciate in value all the time. We want to put our trust and our anchor in Jesus Christ, who can hold us firm and strong. One last scripture that I have